What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to another Kind of Funny screencast, your home for all of the movie, TV, streaming service, review discussions, reactions, etc. that you could possibly want here at Kind of Funny. I'm your host for today, Barrett Courtney, and before we get into it, I just want to let you know that you can catch the Kind of Funny screencast at least once a week over on youtube.com/kindoffunny, roosterteeth.com, and on podcast services around the globe when you search for the Kind of Funny screencast. I say at least once a week because, you know, in the opposite side of, you know, the video game landscape right now where it's kind of dry, there's not a lot going on, the entertainment side of the world is just booming. There is way too much to eat. Yesterday we had our Chip and Dale Rescue Rangers review go up. We've had two trailer reaction videos go up yesterday as well. One for Mission Impossible, one for the new Thor Love and Thunder trailer. We're talking about Better Call Saul Season 6 Part 1 today, and later this week, Tim Geddes, Sage Ryan, and myself will be giving our review of the first two episodes of Obi-Wan Kenobi, a Disney Plus original Star Wars show. So, you know, make sure to subscribe, hit that notification bell, all the YouTuber stuff that you got to say to, you know, make sure to keep up to date because there's so much to talk about. But we're not here to talk about those things today. Today, we are talking about the entirety of Season 6, Part 1 of Better Call Saul. Last time we were here together, we only had the first two episodes, so there's a lot to talk about today. And to do just that, I am joined by everyone's favorite TO, Andy Cortez.
Hey everybody, good morning. I still haven't slept since last night, so.
Oh boy.
Also with us, everyone's favorite lawyer turned con man, Roger Picorni.
I slept a lot last night. Just want to let you know that. You know what I mean? I took Andy's sleep that he didn't have.
Soulless,
Yeah.
Slept like a baby, had nothing on his mind. And rounding out the group, our returning special guest, everybody's favorite muscle for hire, Jake Baldino from youtube.com/Jake Baldino. Jake, how you doing?
I'm good. I'm very fit. Thank you for asking. Thanks for having me back.
Oh, yeah, of course, we're excited to have you back. You were here with us when we talked about the first two episodes, gave our impressions of Season 6 so far, talked about theories and all that good stuff, so we're excited to have you back.
Predictions.
Yeah, all these predictions that we had that we'll definitely follow up on in this full review episodes. But before we talk about that, some housekeeping for you just as a reminder, right? Last time we were here, we talked about the first two episodes. This is our first time back talking about Season 6, Part 1 and in its entirety. We're doing the same thing for Part 2. When Part 2 premieres, we'll be back talking about the premiere episode in July, talking about impressions, talking about theories and all that good stuff, and then we'll be back when the entire series wraps up in August, giving our full review of Season 6 Part 2, giving a whole retrospective essentially on, you know, how it feels that, you know, this Better Call Saul chapter in the Breaking Bad universe is coming to an end. Again, we knew realistically with our schedules we wouldn't be able to do weekly reviews of this show, so we thought this would be a good compromise to still talk passionately about the show that we all love with each other and with you. Speaking of you, you could be one of our Patreon supporters. We're at the silver tier or above. You could watch the show ad-free and live as it's being recorded, much like our Patreon producers Anonymous, Molecule, and Fargo Brady, who can all catch screencasts ad-free over on patreon.com/kindoffunny. Speaking of ads, we're brought to you by MeUndies, but we'll tell you about that later. Guys, we're going to talk about Better Call Saul, Season 6, Part 1. We have not talked about anything since Episode 2. You know, we have to talk about Episodes 3 through 7. There's some follow-ups that I have from our last screencast together. But really, we need to talk about last night first. Jake, how are you feeling? What are the vibes? What are you emotionally feeling after everything that's been revealed just halfway through this season?
So good. I feel like it's at this tipping point now where like it's almost like it started to explode and then it cut to black. So the rest of that explosion is definitely going to be the next season. I feel like this is only a glimpse of a lot of consequences of actions of a lot of characters finally meeting those consequences. And I think that I was very wrong in terms of thinking where I thought things would go, but I am about it. A lot of cool things returning, a lot of people making moves I didn't expect, but I am like more in than ever, honestly.
I'm on the same page as you. Andy and I were talking last night after Andy was able to watch it, and we talked about like it's one of those perfect things where they're setting up this scheme, like almost throughout the entirety of season 6, part 1, and it's a well-told story. When you're getting to the final episode, the scheme that Jimmy and Kim are setting up is about to happen, and you still don't really have any idea what it is, right? And you don't realize it until it's like in the middle of already happening. And it's just proof of like the writing team that the Better Call Saul and Breaking Bad team, they haven't missed a beat since the beginning of Breaking Bad. So, Roger, how are you feeling after last night?
Oh, it was the explosion that I feel like I've been waiting for 6 seasons for, and now that we get to actually, every time a new season premiere happens, I'm like, this is the season. This is the season where we start. We're gonna do like half a season of like the Gene timeline and all that stuff. But now it's like, okay, now I saw a Reddit post where someone was like breaking down pretty much everything that they have to wrap up in like 6 episodes. And it's like, oh, there's no way that these next 6 episodes aren't gonna be banger after banger after banger of just explaining and kind of filling out this universe that we've been kind of waiting and patiently waiting for. And this has just been the entire season, I think, has been so far has been really fantastic. It has that Better Call Saul energy the entire time. It doesn't play into, I think, its worst instincts, which I think any other show probably would do by now.
Breaking Bad again.
Exactly, right? Yeah. Like it stays to its core of focusing on the little things, and you don't see the big picture, as you were saying. Like you don't understand the big picture, and now we're starting to see the big picture.
Yeah,
it's really enthralling.
It's such a smart way of like, it's a prequel. Some elements are almost a sequel to Breaking Bad, like you were saying, like any lesser creators, I think, would just, have this be Breaking Bad again. And there are a lot of elements, and we'll talk about it with this kind of mid-season finale, which we learned, I think, 2 days ago or something, that wasn't intended to be a mid-season finale. There's still so many elements that are Breaking Bad-esque, kind of, especially like where this mid-season finale, like, kind of leaves us for the next month and a half, and how similar and different that is to the mid-season finale in the last season of Breaking Bad, which I was talking to Andy about last night. Andy, how you feeling?
Just another kind of masterclass in building a scheme, and I think it's pretty easy for me as a viewer to get lost in the sauce a bit, where I don't know if it's just a part of my ADHD that I can I can get distracted by something and maybe miss something and then think to myself, damn, what are they building towards right now? And did I miss a key scene? Let me go watch that back. And sure enough, this is another one of those moments similar to the Lily of the Valley, similar to, just countless moments in Breaking Bad and Better Call Saul where there's a slow building thing happening in the background, and it's not going to be shoved in your face. They're not going to, make it overbearing with what they're doing. It's just giving you little hints here and there, and you have enough time to think about it before you're on to the next sequence, and then everything culminates and completely makes sense at the end of it all, and it's just so damn impressive every time they do it. And I just think it's like that moment last night with having Lalo enter the room, and just the fear you feel, the fear you see on their faces. Like, good Lord, that is like, that's the most, like, if you told me that on set that they brought on like a live tiger to get that reaction out of them, like, I would have believed it, because that reaction that we see from Kim and Jimmy is just so real to see. Not like this ghost from their past that they were so glad is gone and now is back for a reckoning.
Yeah.
And knowing that Howard he's going to get some part of this as well. Like, he's not just going to let him walk.
Bush. Like, there's so little time and so much to talk about. Howard Hamlin is dead. Howard Hamlin was killed by Lalo, of all people, something that I never even would have predicted. In my notes from our last episode of Screencast, I did have in our quick questions of predictions, I did write down, will Howard be alive by the end of the series? And in the moment, I decided not to ask it on the Screencast because I was like, that's too ridiculous of a question.
Yeah.
And he's fucking dead. And it's So great, especially with his speech to them
Oh man.
before, like right before that, where, you know, throughout this half of this episode, he's putting together the pieces of like what they pulled over on him, and him confronting them, directly telling them what is wrong with them and like why they're doing what they're doing is so volatile and so unnecessary, because, you know, he realizes it's, you know, it's not about the money. It's about the feeling of, you know, getting away with it. Something that we, you know, see Kim was very much brought up with from her childhood, of just this feeling of like realizing of like, yeah, if I can get away with shit, why not? You know,
Yeah.
and realizing the real consequences of what that actually does right in their faces, with Lalo shooting Howard in the head in front of them in their own home. It's
Yeah.
fucking insane.
It's I wrote notes for every episode, and my notes are
Same.
kind of all over the place, but I remember halfway through the episode, I think it was during the part when the intern comes in and like spills all the cans of sodas, and he's just being really sweet to him and helping him out and everything.
Yeah.
I just wrote, God, Howard is a sweet person. Sucks he's gonna get killed or something. Lol. As a joke. Like oh, he's not gonna fucking die. And then he fucking dies. So like it's just, and also that scene, I put it in assets, but like that scene, like him twisting the can, referencing like the twisting of the silencer, is just fucking masterful. Like that is,
and that's one of the great things, and that's something like I really focus on that scene as well, because it, you know, the writers are so good at you know, giving multiple meanings to like important scenes like that, because that wasn't something I picked up on, Roger, was like the whole like silencer and twisting, and, you know, silencers like slang being called cans and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And then because for me in that scene, you know, he's talking about like, this is something that Chuck taught him, and this was something that Chuck did obsessively, and you know that Chuck did that obsessively because you know that Jimmy was shaking his cans, soda cans, as a child, and that's where Chuck learned that. And so for me in that moment, like the soda can was Jimmy, and, you know, and Howard doesn't even realize that that's like the metaphor that he's kind of talking about in that moment. You know, Andy, I love a good metaphor where the characters don't even realize the full context of the metaphor that they're giving, right? And so, you know, he's talking about this can not exploding, and it's like, well, Howard, you have to remember that even though, you know, Chuck taught you all he knew, not just lawyering, but dealing with Jimmy, look where Chuck ended up. You know, that can of soda is gonna explode no matter what you do. And I thought of that in that moment as just, you know, Jimmy and Kim pulling the scheme over him, not to the point of, you know, Jimmy's other life really coming into, you know, the lawyer side of things, the prank side of things, right? And that's something that is, you know, very very similar to Breaking Bad, in a very subtle way of, you know, this episode not being intended to be a mid-season finale, but they probably decided to cut here because this is kind of the moment in Breaking Bad season 5, part 1 finale, where you see Walt's two lives clash together in a way that he was never going to be able to predict, with Hank sitting on the toilet, finding the notebook, and putting two and two together of, oh, this guy is Heisenberg. And
You got me.
Yeah, and you got the, you know, his family life and his meth life coming together, and you get that same thing here with Jimmy's, you know, lawyer cartel friend of the cartel stuff coming together with just his fun, goofy, we're gonna fuck with Howard life, and it comes together in a very real way that he could never have predicted, and it's so goddamn good.
The way I look at it is that it's almost what Jimmy and Kim did is more brutal than the actual execution itself. I think they made him such a sympathetic character towards the end, where you start to almost kind of put together little pieces here and there, like, oh, well, back earlier, Howard wasn't always totally on board with how Chuck was going after Jimmy. Like, he had these little moments of being a human, and then he got boned. He kind of like went back to the drawing board. He's in therapy, and like it was treated as kind of a lighthearted, goofy thing because he is one of those weird oddball characters. But then that whole scheme and how they built it slowly and let us actually figure it out, and they didn't like pander it to us. Like they didn't talk down to us. They let us figure it out. And as it's starting to go, you're starting to realize like how crazy it is. Like they're not going to pull it off, but then also how mean it is. It's like, ooh, this is mean. And then when Howard confronts them about just how mean it is, it's like you felt it, especially with Kim, with how it's almost like that's the first time somebody and somebody who, you know, was like a mentor, like a whole respect thing with them. The first time somebody was really like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
People had been like, oh, you know, Kim, what are you doing with Jimmy? You know, Jimmy's not that great. But this was the first time where it was like, there's something wrong with you. And that
was like Howard seeing her for the first time in a very real way of what she's been doing, because, you know, the assumption is like this has all just been Jimmy, you know, and the way that she feeds into it is really
I definitely agree with the sort of heartbreaking nature of it, because you kind of, as you're watching it, sure, you can think Howard is a dick in the same way that a lot of people thought Skylar was like just way too mean to Walt, but it's like a lot of this is absolutely justified. And at the end of the day, Howard wasn't pulling any, you know, crazy schemes to fuck their careers over. And if anything, it was always just kind of him trying to protect the firm in a very responsible way that just kind of makes sense. And sure, you know, I put you in the annex, Kim, you know, he talks about like the little moments that they had, but nothing worse than what a boss would do, right? And to sort of see it all come together, to see him talking to Howard, no, what's his name?
Clifford.
Clifford, yeah. To see him talking to Clifford, and I thought that was such a great moment of just conversing between two people where Howard is like, I have all this shit happening to me, and you're listening to it like, God, you sound fucking crazy, even though you're absolutely right.
Yeah.
And you put it all together. You have all the clues down. You have all the evidence. We know you're right. You still sound crazy. And then there's that moment where Clifford's kind of listening to him, just kind of explaining all of this clusterfuck. And even Clifford is kind of like, look, man, it doesn't matter anymore. Like we lost all of this stuff, even though you might be kind of starting to convince me, because I know what kind of person Jimmy can probably be, and I know what he's been to you in your past. Who gives a shit? We still lost this thing, and we're gonna have to settle, and all this money's gonna be lost. And I just like, goddamn, they're so good with, again, planting all those seeds. Like Jake was mentioning, I even think of the scheme with the with a hospital bed, you know, like trying to, well, when he has Chuck in the bed and he's like, look, dude, there's no electromagnetic waves. When he puts the cell phone in his pocket, there's all these little schemes that they sort of like hint to you without being too overbearing, and then they reveal it all. And it just, again, shows why I think this writing team is top tier. And I just don't think they can do any wrong, man. Like I at this point, it's like, if they don't land the plane, I'm okay. Because I think
flight was good enough.
I mean, this flight was crazy good, dude.
One thing, you know, like talking about the scheme and stuff, and like how perfectly it was built throughout this entire part one of the final season, and like how you see it all kind of come together. Because like, you know, when they're trying to get an actor who looks similar to this like judge mediator, you know, like I thought they were like gonna film something and send it to the meeting to like just be like a ha fuck you guys kind of thing, and to see like the play that they're actually trying to make of making Howard seem like an absolute psycho in that meeting, and it's just pictures and all this stuff. And I love the Kim doubling down in episode 6 and, you know, turning around, leaving that meeting, which would have been a fucking amazing opportunity. And that's why, you know, it's not about the money, it's about this being able to get away with it itch that she has, where she helps out. You know, they get the actor back, and I love that scene where, you know, he's like rehearsing, I assume like a play lines or something like that.
I felt that. I used to push grocery store carts, and I used to be pushing them and being like, comment, subscribe, like, one day. Like, that was me.
Amazing. And then like Jimmy comes up and is like trying to do this impassioned speech about like making art and stuff like that, and then like getting them onto the college campus, which I absolutely adore, because we've seen these poor kids helping out Jimmy. I'm pretty sure since,
and kids, they're like 45.
Yeah, they're so old now. But like, you know, they've been helping Jimmy, I think, since season 2, and you finally get like a slice of their life where like the director is like kind of student teaching and
Yeah,
being
and
a dick.
that was something that I really loved because when I went to film school for 1 year, that I fucking seen types exactly like that, and that shit.
You
I
don't
was like,
get the nice cameras.
Yeah, exactly. I was just like, you know what, you and Saul fucking belong together. Like that is for sure. That makes a lot more sense. But like going back to like Kim leaving that meeting or not going to the meeting at all, and also bringing up that the whole Cliff and Hamlin debate and how he kind of is picking up on a little bit of maybe that Jimmy might have had something to do with this. I think that they might be playing towards that in the next season of like Cliff putting 2 and 2 together by all of this. Hamlin maybe disappearing. I don't know how this works out or what they do with that.
The gravity of that, like a very big pillar of like the local lawyer law community is just dead. And like,
and then
what
he
is
finds
the fallout?
And if he finds out that Kim didn't go to this meeting, that's like a fucking slam dunk. And I would be very interested because I do like Cliff as a character, and he's been getting a lot of play this season. So to see him hopefully come back in more of a
he's such a nice dude. You know, you're just like, I'm so sorry that you're involved in all this bullshit that these other characters. Like, you just seem like a nice guy. You know, that's also because I liked you in Arrested Development, but you know.
Oh, right.
Peter Gould did say that this doesn't necessarily wrap up the lawyer verse part of this all at all. He did say like, he's like, we have Ed Begley Jr. Like we're gonna keep using him. So with you mentioning that, with Cliff Main possibly figuring this out, I'm really curious to see what he's like on the back foot, on the defense. Like where does his scary lawyer come out? Because so far, he's been like normal, regular person.
And like, there is still the question, like I one of the questions I asked you guys in the last episode we did was like, does Kim live? Is she alive by the end of this? And like, maybe she is, and maybe she gets like everything that she's done gets caught up with her, and that's coming from Clifford, right? Which I think will be really interesting. I want to talk more about the rest of the season. We haven't been able to talk about Nacho on content at all together. But before we get to the rest of the season, give our thoughts, I want to tell you about our sponsors.
This episode is brought to you by MeUndies. I love MeUndies from head to toe, all over my body. If you don't believe me, of course, right now, I'm wearing the MeUndies shirt. You can tell by the little tag going on right there, right? I got the MeUndies lounge shorts going on. Of course, I got the undies, and then boom, MeUndies socks, baby. That's how we do out here at KindaFunny. I love being soft head to toe in the micro-modal fabric. You already know all about that, but if you don't, let's face it, summer's sweaty, but your butt doesn't have to be. With MeUndies light and breathable micro-modal fabric, you can stay comfy and cool all summer long. They have super fun seasonal prints and tons of styles to choose from, but if you just like classic black, that's totally cool too. They got a bunch of just bold colors for you to go for. They have super fun seasonal prints, tons of styles, and sizes extra small to 4XL, so you can bring the beach to your butt without ever leaving your living room. MeUndies has a great offer for all of you first-time purchasers. You can get 15% off. If you sign up for their free-to-join membership, you can apply that 50% off to their already discounted membership prices. To get 15% off your first order and 100% satisfaction guarantee, go to MeUndies.com/KindaFunny. That's MeUndies.com/KindaFunny. Tell them Tim Getty sent you.
Andy, one of the prediction questions I asked on the last episode when we were together was, does Nacho make it out alive? And you were the only one to predict correctly that no, he would not be making it out alive. That was the first episode after we recorded, which was insane. The third episode in the season was killing, like essentially just like this finale for a major character since the first season, where you see him like realize that he was set up to be this patsy by Gus. You see Mike's end of things where he's not completely happy about it. He almost sees like Nacho as like a son in a way, in a very weird way in their world and stuff like that. And you see that he wants to take care of this kid who's just been trying to get out. And Mike understands that and feels that. Nacho, accepting that he's the fall guy, but he wants to be that on his own terms, and make sure that no one's going to go after his dad again, and like make sure like all of his shit is taken care of before he essentially goes off and takes the fall for Gus in a way. How'd you guys?
I have a question about that. I remember, maybe I'm completely off base and I'm misremembering, but I remember when he was on the truck, right, like being transported to be executed. He's talking to them, and they're going over the plan. And the plan originally was for them to kill him. And he talks about that. He's like, okay, you're gonna run around the corner, and then we'll make it fast.
Yeah.
So originally the plan was for him to, kill the dude. Okay.
Yeah, the original plan, because like him and Mike have like one last drink the night before, like it's happening. I think Mike's the one who tells him like I'm gonna be the one who does it. Like I'm putting down my dog
here.
Yeah, and like we'll do it in stuff, and it'll be we're gonna make sure it's like quick and all this stuff, and. Yeah, he kind of.
So it's like a one last fuck you. Like,
yeah,
like,
it really was.
I love
and,
that.
and I remember in that moment being like, is he going to somehow try to get out of this? Because he's holding like a gun or a knife to like Donald Audio's like right-hand man or whatever, who we know isn't Breaking Bad. So I know like he's not
Juan
really
Bosa.
like in any any danger and stuff like that. So I was like, where is he trying to go from here? And it really was just like a one last fuck you. It really felt like it reminded me of Walt telling Jesse that he was responsible for Jane's death, where he wanted to be the one to be like, you're a fucking psychopath. I set this all up. Fuck you. Because he did really hate Hector, which I love that he got that.
That was an incredible moment. Having that sort of, again, I'm going out on my terms. We've mentioned that before. And by the way, you're like that right now because of me. I'm the one who switched out all the medicine. I'm responsible for this. It's the last perfect sort of fuck you. But I think as that episode is leading up, I'm still kind of waiting for, all right, how's he going to escape? Are they going to find enough sympathy to let him go? Like, is there still one chance that Mike Ehrmantraut kind of says, you know what, kid, never mind, go do your own thing or whatever? And I love that it didn't happen that way. I didn't think it would happen this fast. I thought that Nacho would be there until the maybe last 2 episodes, and that's where he might die trying to do something crazy. But I think seeing him go out this way is perfect for this character. I think it still felt like a win for the audience, even though I think one of the more beloved characters and one of the more characters that the audience sort of feels, sympathy for still at this point. This guy is able to kind of go out on his own instead of just being shot down by this crazy mob. I think it was perfect. That was sort of that first episode of this season that just kind of, again, we weren't even able to record the reaction of it, but I think all of us kind of had that holy fuck, this is awesome, and I love that this is happening.
It felt like the first episode was like it felt real in that moment of like, oh, this is the final season. And the big question that I still have coming from that episode is like, all right, when we first meet Saul in Breaking Bad, he talks about like he thinks Walt and Jesse are being sent by Lalo. He blames whatever he thinks Lalo's coming after him for on Nacho. Is that's something that they're gonna kind of ignore now, or and stuff like that? So I think that's interesting. Or was that just, are they gonna chalk that up to like Jimmy just deflecting of like pulling one over on Lalo and just blaming it on the first name that pops up into his head? I'm not entirely sure, but that was something that gave me pause. I was like, how is this going to come together where, like, I feel like at some point Jimmy's going to have to be a part of screwing over Lalo in some way, shape, or form. So that'll be interesting to see.
There's one line from this episode that I think is really telling and fantastic. It's when Kim is talking to Jimmy about the prosecutor, how they're making a case or they're trying to build a case against Jimmy, and he's going over the options. He doesn't know what to do. Like, that's a clear moment of like, if she was like, hey, you should probably go to the authorities, he probably would have done it. But then she says, you can either be a friend of the cartel or a rat. And it's like, fuck, like we're going down this path. Like she does not give a fuck. Like she is completely against him even being close to talking to the police. And that was I think that we talked about that in the original screencast, and it was kind of confirmed. The episode was kind of fucking big. That was a big episode.
I also think it's not only just, hey, we don't want you to talk to the police. I think it's, I think that may be more dangerous talking to the police at this point. I think him going to the police, her kind of getting the her understanding how dangerous this all really is, and kind of getting a hint to these people are really serious about their line of work.
Yeah.
And I think that, you know, if you go to the police now, that immediately changes everything for us. So our future is totally different, or we can ride this very dangerous waves where the sharks are right below, waiting for us at any moment, but we're still above water. You know, I think going to the police completely changes their sort of course of action.
Yeah, and I love that, especially like she knows for I think it's episode 4, who which was directed by, I'm gonna mispronounce her name, Rhea Seahorn.
Rhea Seahorn, yeah.
Yeah. She directed that episode, and where she's told by Mike of like, yeah, Lalo's alive. Yeah, like we weren't able to like actually kill him. He's still out there, and I love the thing where he tells her, he's like, I think you're made of harder stuff than he is. That's why I'm telling you. And so like she kind of, you know, I love that it comes to fruition in, you know, episode 7, where, you know, Jimmy is terrified because I don't think she tells him, right? Like she didn't tell him at all of what Mike told her, and so he is just like, his world's like flipped upside down because this entire time, like, he thought he was dead, and where she is a little bit like on top of the situation because she's been knowing what the reality of Lalo for a while.
I just wanted to bring up what I told Barrett last night from when we did our first reaction. I mentioned how these characters are the smartest people alive, and they notice the smallest things, and I'd be dead within 20 minutes in this universe.
Yeah,
because I would just be so oblivious to everything.
You wouldn't know that, you know, the your phone was being tapped by Gus Fring calling your TO one last time. Like
when Lalo's calling Hector Salamanca and hears a little clicking and knows, oh shit, I think I'm being listened to. Like, for
I was
me,
like, what?
would not get that whatsoever. Like, obviously, as I'm watching it, I go, oh shit, he knows something that maybe.
I had to rewind it like twice. I'm like, I guess what's the click? Like, is that them listen? What is happening?
It's 4D chess, because now he knows that the conversation is being recorded, so he totally changed. Like, it's
yes, it's perfect. Again, it's like from both sides. I'm going to completely fake him out. I'm going to tell him that we're hitting him hard tonight at his house. All the security is going to be over there, leaving me completely open to do something else. It's absolutely brilliant. Again, that's one of those moments where when he kind of understands that the line is tapped. For me, I just been like, oh, bad signal. I'm in a sewer.
I'm in a literal sewer. Can we talk really quickly about Frings House and the way that they show that and how it's like a fucking James Bond villain? It's incredible.
I have in my notes, it's Gus's Batcave is the neighbor's house. I love like the whole like slow reveal of like what, like who are these people like taking over this like couple's house? What are they watching? And like the slow reveal of like Gus is hankering down, like he is bolting everything down for Lalo, and
if it was any other show, I feel like it would just be like, this is jumping the shark. Like this is too far.
But because the fact we know it's Gus, right? They do earn it in a way, and I think I might have mentioned this, or maybe I didn't. I forget. Of like, Gus has, I think, we haven't seen this kind of Gus before ever. Of like, he is fucking scared. You know, there's the episode, I think maybe in episode 2, where like he drops the water, or like we have never seen him this way. We have never seen him this fucked up, and I think it's fascinating. We have never seen, you know, this side where he's able to go into his house, open up a fucking like a secret passageway to his neighbor's house, and like really see how in depth of like, you know, he's letting Mike's guys watch Mike's family. You know, he needs the laundromat to be watched over. And I love that, like, he has, like, the little inkling of, like, maybe I feel like in my gut that Lalo is trying to find this laundromat. And he's right, too. And the question that I have, before I get to some other fun things, is why did Lalo just, because he, you know, he went through the means of like going to Germany, finding the architect's wife, befriending her, you know, the entire time I'm scared for her well-being and stuff like that, especially when he like breaks into her house and then she
But
comes back
smooth.
home.
He's so smooth hitting on her. You know what I mean?
Oh,
Like I would
man.
give it up
Yeah.
immediately if Lalo pulls up to me at the fucking bar, bro.
smile.
Oh my god.
Oh,
Oh my God.
100%. He's
Mustache
a charmer.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
And it's, even when he's putting on the charm, you're like, oh my god, like
Yeah.
you're gonna slit someone's throat in a second. And he's such a great actor, and I like he pulls it off so well. He goes through all that trouble. He finds one of the workers and tortures them to like figure out what the fuck's going on with this laundromat. Finds out that it's the mother of all meth labs. That's what, you know, the plan is for this place at least. And he decides to go after Jimmy instead again. And I really wonder if, like, you know, he's got this plan of like, I'm gonna lure guys out of the laundromat and have them all be on Gus, so I can go into this laundromat. I can find the proof to send to Donald Audio because that's his like main goal. Like, why does he go to Saul instead?
I don't think we know yet. I
Yeah.
think that this is another planting of a seed that, again, this wasn't meant to be a mid-season finale, and so this obviously wasn't just done for shock factor, but there's a reason why he says, I need my lawyer. That's why I'm here. And like, obviously I'm going to do whatever I can to, including, you know, giving Howard a fucking one-click headshot. I think that we will find out in the next episode why he needs his lawyer, because the plan was, I'm going to shoot. And I love, by the way, the absolute confidence this dude has to just like, yeah, I'm just gonna go in that place and shoot everybody up, like, because I'll just kill everybody, you know. But first off, I just want to shout out to the dude back in Germany who gets his ankle just axed. Fucking awful.
Jesus.
Like,
Big time gore. I was like, whoa.
I was not expecting that. I was not like, it was such a violent looking swing, and then just to kind of see it on the ground. Oh, terrifying to look at. But yeah, I don't think we are to know quite yet why he wants his lawyer, because he's going to involve him in some way. And I think this is, again, them just planting those seeds, and we'll find out soon enough in 6 weeks.
You just reminded me. I didn't even remember that he mentioned that he needed his lawyer, because like my butthole was so clenched during that scene.
Talking about that, I rewatched it, and he only comes in when Hamlin starts talking about exposing both of them. So it's like, whatever it is, it's extremely. I of course, we're not supposed to know what it is, but I'm just scared. I'm just scared.
And I love, like I was telling Andy this last night. You know, like when the scene first starts and, you know, Howard's let in and Kim notices the flickering of the flame, you know, I thought of it as like a flickering of like, you know, a metaphor, representation of like her starting to maybe start to doubt of like what she's doing and all this stuff. And that might still be like one of their intentions, because again, almost anything has double meanings in these shows, but then it's really just used as a device to be like, someone else is here. And
So
it's, God, they know how to tell a fucking story. You know, and there's so much that we still really haven't talked about. You know, I want to just shout out like the fun kind of things that they have, like Easter eggs from Breaking Bad, and like things that they've kind of set up almost as a like checkmark prequel of like, how does Saul become Saul, right? You know, you get the him getting the office,
really nice.
Yeah, like Francesca like making it like a really pretty office, and you're like, like, do they decide to like kind of like dumb it down because they know that that's not representative of their clientele? You know, we run back into the couple from season 1 who were part of like the fraud stuff, and you see like the Statue of Liberty thing. You know, I love that, like, something that they slowly built up is that he's got this vet contact who has this like has all of these contacts and stuff like that.
There's a network.
Yeah, he has this like network of like criminal shit going on, and he's pretty much like, this is starting to get too hot for me. Like, I'm gonna retire, and I'm just gonna like live my life, and, you know, I'm gonna sell this little black book. And like in that moment, you're like, oh my God, that's how like Saul's gonna have all of these connections for Breaking Bad. You know, you even see like the best quality vacuum card in that black book and stuff, and you're like, this is such a it feels like they're just checkboxing all of the little things that like Saul has in Breaking Bad, but I think the way that they built it up and like how he gets these things is just so well done and so smart. Shout out to Mr. Spooge, who, you know, the last time we saw him was in Breaking Bad calling his wife a skank, you know, having an ATM fall onto his face, and we see him as a totally normal guy. Not totally normal, like he's definitely a little shady, but he's not, you know, super high on meth. You know, he doesn't look all scabby
Not
and
super
stuff.
high, maybe a little high on
Maybe
meth,
a little
but, like,
high,
super
but like,
yeah.
you know, he's like, you know, he's like dressed up.
It
He's
wasn't
like,
the blue crystal.
yeah,
Yeah.
like he's able to like have a normal conversation and stuff like that. That was fascinating to see. You know, we see Wendy, which was absolutely fantastic. I loved, you know, even the callback to her loving root beer and all this stuff. And yeah, and you know, that I think that was the episode that Rhea directed, because that's also the one where like, you know, Saul pushes her out of the car in front of like Clifford and makes himself look like Howard and stuff like that, which just in and of itself was just like, Jesus Christ, the lengths they are going to like try to discredit Howard.
Another great scheme. Like, I mean, again, show me. I want to be loved the way they love building a scheme, and like putting the parking sign and like just that whole sequence, because it's like it's always the best when something is going smooth and then something fucks up at the last second. And how are we going to pivot? How are we going to improv and figure out how to fix the situation? I just wanted to shout out how when Lalo's introduced at the end of season 4, 4, 5, 4. When he's introduced at the end of 4, and I know that we are getting close to the end of the series, I'm immediately just in love with this dude. I know he's gonna be an evil asshole, but I'm like, damn, is this enough time to really build out this villain? Yeah. Are we gonna get enough of these scary moments? And they have delivered in spades.
I love the...
I didn't think we'd really get enough time with him. I was really worried because obviously with Fring and Breaking Bad, we had a decent amount of seasons to really feel the full weight of his violence and his capabilities.
Yep.
And we saw it sort of build up, and then when he slices Homeboy's throat inside of the lab, you're like, oh shit, you're crazy. Like I know that you run a lot of evil shit, but like this is like a different level of psychopathic that we're dealing with right now.
Yep.
I was really worried that we weren't gonna get Lalo. You know, are they gonna rush his sort of evilness?
Yeah.
How are they gonna make him an imposing figure when we've seen imposing figures before? And I'm so happy with how they've sort of developed him.
They nailed it. I almost wonder, like, where is or are they gonna find a crack? Where is the one crack in the vase? Because he's dangerous, he's crazy, he's scary, he's like hyper smart, he's really capable physically. So it's like, is there any weak point there? I'm curious if that's like what we're gonna get.
Yeah, I think that it's almost like they have to catch him by surprise. Like this is one of those moments where, you know, like, we know that Gus also thinks in 4D chess in a lot of real ways, and you know, I think they're really gonna have to try to think of something dealing with this guy to like really just get him out of the picture. What's up, Roger?
I just want to point out in episode 5, Gus puts a gun in the tractor tire in the meth lab. Just want to put that out there because it's going to come back. It has to come back. I don't know where the fuck it's going to come back, but he puts it there and then he just walks away.
Good note.
So there's a gun. Just want to put it there.
Good note. I love the callback too of I think it's the last episode Lalo has with Nacho at the end of season 5, or before the assassination attempt. You know, he's like, yeah, I don't sleep, man. Like I sleep maybe an hour, and then they like do that in the last episode. They show of like he like sets the 60-minute timer and like wakes up before it even like goes off and stuff like that. I love little things like that coming back. There was something else in this episode that I wanted to bring up, but I'm losing it. Of something that was like brought up earlier.
I believe that I would be able to see Lalo in a fucking drain thing. I think I could see it. I think I would notice a dude looking through binoculars.
Like, how often are you actually looking at?
I don't know.
Like,
I feel like I would.
style.
Yeah, exactly. I just feel like someone would like throw a cigarette down there and they'd be like, "Oh fuck, what the fuck?" Like, I don't know. I don't think it's that concrete of a place to like hide, but I digress.
Yeah.
Also, I just love the absolute confidence that so many of these villains have with doing things that in any other universe you'd be worried about them being seen. And it's always like there's a couple of moments in Breaking Bad and in Better Call Saul where a villain does something and you're like, oh, so we're just not really, we don't even care that this is a super obvious thing. It's just like they're the villain and they're in their bag, so who gives a shit? And there's been moments where they're like, no, I took down the security footage, or I killed the witness, or whatever the hell. But like when he's just like walking down the street with a fucking crowbar, like lifting up the sewer, it's like this guy doesn't give a damn that somebody could be getting home from work late. Like, who's this? What's this guy doing jumping in the sewer? I just love that this universe can do that and not really make me go, really? Somebody would have seen it. I don't give a damn.
It doesn't break the immersion somehow, you know?
Yeah.
The
Also,
last
if you've ever been to Albuquerque, there are very empty parts of Albuquerque. I was like, I believe that. I went to the house. We wanted to throw pizza on the roof. They didn't let us.
Fair. Yeah,
owners are like, please stop.
It is very much like suburban town where there's just like a lot of places where it's like, yeah, no one's fucking over here. The last thing I wanted to the last like big reveal moment from the final episode from last night that I absolutely loved is like, you know, they're getting the pictures ready, they're doing the droplets. We don't quite know what the droplets are quite yet. Jimmy's running and then he like goes to a car and he's like, go, and you like get that moment where you're like, oh my god, the PI that Howard hired is actually Jimmy's guy. And like that moment where that was when it all started coming together, and that's where I was like, oh, their plan is going through and they're gonna absolutely ruin Howard.
Yeah,
and
that's when I started getting sad.
Yeah,
I was just like, no, this is
he played right into their hands and stuff.
He had no
like
chance. He had no chance.
I know.
I was almost kind of saddened by it, by that reveal as much as I loved it, because or rather, there's a moment earlier on in the season where they are getting all of these, they're putting all these pieces into play to kind of get this plan rolling. And he has the boxing match with Howard where he lets Howard beat him up. And then he says, like, I played into his plan. And then you see that Howard had somebody watching the whole time. And you're like, oh shit, Howard's working on some stuff.
Yeah.
And then Kim kind of drops the line of, yeah, well, this had to happen in order for us to do what we want to do.
Yeah.
And I was like, am I happy she said that line? Because like, would I have loved the moment of him seeing the private investigator for the first time last night even more had I not known that Jimmy and Kim are already enacting something in the background? Like sure you have a plan, but we have a plan for your plan. Like I wonder if I would have loved that reveal a bit more, but I just love when a character is like, again, it just kind of reminds you like the best seasons of Game of Thrones, where it's like, oh, you're working on something, but they have something for you as well.
Yeah, and again, masterful storytelling, showing just one perspective and showing it enough that you forget almost of like what the other perspective is until the right moment, and you're like, oh god, like we didn't see the full picture here until we're in the middle of the last moment. You brought up the boxing ring kind of scene, which I absolutely adore, because it really, I think there's a line that Howard says that I think like kind of wraps up his entire character, I think, in this entire show, where he says, you've mistaken my kindness for weakness. And that was just like one of those things where in that moment I was like, Howard's not making it out of this show happy now alive. He's not making it out alive. But at the moment, I was like, he's not making it out of this show happy. And I'm so upset because, he does have a lot of privilege that, Jimmy and Kim were never super fond of, the way that they also saw him as someone always taking Chuck's side and stuff like that. They really felt that. But, like you were saying earlier, Jake, of like the way that they're able to build him up sympathetically, not just this season, but the last couple, you're like, God, damn, this poor man who's just trying to like kind of do his best and
Also
no
going through a
one-
divorce, by the way.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
Oh man, I'm divorced, and then click pow. It's like
And my
how
dog
many
died,
things can you
and, like,
pile
I
on
I
him?
know, dude, the coffee scene where he like spends this time making out this coffee like for his wife, and she just like pours it into a to-go thing, doesn't say thank you, is very short with him. She's
That
going
scene
out
was
with sorry, go ahead.
That scene was a recreation of me bringing my Steam Deck to my wife with Vampire Survivors on it. And I'm like, you're going to love it. It's awesome. And she's like, this is stupid. And I was like, okay, have a good day. Anyway.
And granted, we don't know, like, what Howard was like at home, but like in that moment, you're like,
Yeah.
God damn, like at least he's, trying something here. And
Yeah, I like that was also a genuine, not a moment of sympathy or feeling sorry for him, but like when he says that, they're like, oh, really? Like, oh, you guys are, oh, I didn't know that. Like that was like the one thing that they didn't know about his life, and they, instead of taking it like, oh fuck, we shouldn't have done this, they were just like, it's just whatever, fuck him.
Yeah, and I think that scene is the first time we've ever seen her, right? Like we don't really see any of that from him, and I love that they pull in another perspective at the right moment to really hit you in unexpected ways.
Patrick Fabian is the name of the actor, and I think he should definitely be remembered for just being such an incredible character actor,
100%.
just like god tier stuff.
Yeah. Before we kind of like round out here and I give some updates from our prediction questions last time, any other big moments from the seasons, any specific scenes you guys want to call out and talk about? Jake, what about you?
Michael Mando's big moment where I said last time we talked that he's going to have some big final like Oscar worthy or whatever award it is moment. And for me, I think we got it was when he called his dad, when he knew he was turning himself in. He knew he was going to be the fall guy, and he calls his dad, and it is such a simple conversation. They don't even really speak about anything. It's all just through their emotion and all through their faces. His face, knowing that he's going to die, calling his dad one last time. His dad kind of understanding while barely anything is said. It's almost like a very good, real thing if you have a dad like that. I thought it was really good.
Yeah, 100%. Roger, Andy, anything, any other like big moments or stuff that you guys want to bring up that you either loved or were confused about or anything?
I think that the only thing that I was thinking about for like half the season was when Kim would have that Mexican restaurant that she would take her clients to. Like her bill must be fucking huge. Like they're ordering so much food and like she's there all day. Like it's not even a coffee place. You know what I mean? Like
bono.
it's like fuck, this is expensive. But I mean it is also New Mexico, so I'm sure like Mexican food's a lot cheaper than it is in New York.
Yeah,
so,
100%. I love that the scene too where she's catching up with her old assistant and where she's essentially just trying to get info out of her to find out who this judge mediator is going to be. And I love the scene where her assistant, it kind of was like, I look up to you, like you're such like an important figure in my life and my career. And it's kind of knowing what she's actually doing in her life and like how she's viewed by others, like it really made me think of like, does that eat at her at all? Or is she really just, this kid who is told by her mother, if you can get away with something, just fucking do it. Are they that soulless? Which is what, Howard essentially told them in this last scene. So yeah, I fucking loved that scene of just like kind of getting a reminder of like where Kim was before all of this and stuff like that. I thought it was great.
I got nothing other than just like, I think this is gonna go down as one of the best shows of all time, and
that nobody watched.
Yeah, it kind of does remind me of just again the masterful planting of seeds. I haven't felt this way, especially in this season in particular, where like I feel like they always do it, but I feel like this season they were just absolutely goated at it, and it reminds me of watching Watchmen on HBO, and that single season that it existed where every little thing that they show is purposeful and it has meaning, and that one throwaway sequence that took 1 second on screen is likely going to have big ramifications in the future. So I like it. Roger mentioning the gun in the laundromat. I forgot about that, and I'll be looking out for that. And it's just like this whole everything they do is just so perfectly done, and I really hope that they clean up at awards season for whatever fucking award it is. Jake, who gives a shit?
All right, well, to round out the show before we part ways until season 6 part 2 premieres in a month and a half, I have some follow-up on the quick hit questions that I asked at the end of last episode where we were together. I asked, will Nacho be dead by the end of the series? Like I said earlier, Andy was the only one who predicted correctly by saying yes. The rest of us said no. Something yet to be determined, but I also asked, will Kim be dead by the end of the series? We all guessed no. Again, I had written in my notes, will Howard be dead by the end of the series? In that moment, I thought it was too ridiculous of a question, so I skipped it, which is hilarious. I also asked, does Gene, future Saul, die by the end of the series? Jake says he'll die. Roger and I both say he'll get caught, and Andy just says he won't die. Again, yet to be determined because we have not seen Gene yet. Just a quick thing. I am convinced that the last episode is entirely going to be Gene. I just want to put that out there. I think they're going to do 5 episodes left of wrapping up all of this stuff, and the last episode is just like where Jimmy is at now.
All Gene all the time.
All Gene all the time. And then Lalo, the last question I asked was, Lalo pretty much has to die, so who kills him? Roger predicted Saul. Andy predicted Nacho and Lalo would kill each other. I said Gus himself would do it. And Jake predicted Howard Hamlin would kill Lalo. And I think that's so fucking hilarious.
Who would have thought?
I know.
Who would have thought that the craziest mashing of worlds would have come together at all, right? Like in no situation did I think they'd even share the screen.
Yeah. It's like who's the sister in Breaking Bad? Hank's wife.
Marie.
Yeah, Marie. It's like when like Marie and Jesse meet for the first time in the final season, and you're like, this is fucking weird.
Yeah.
Anyways,
yeah, I just want to reiterate, I don't think that I especially now don't think that Kim will die. I think that especially having the Howard death along with the Nacho death, I think that killing any other main character may seem a little trite, or I just feel like it feels like they've already done it. You know?
And I don't think it fits her character arc and her story, and not her growth, but her deterioration almost as a person.
She gets vacuumed.
Oh, you think she's gonna get vacuumed? Interesting.
I would love to see that. I would love to see her show up at the end to defend old Gene, Charlie Cox style, showing up in Spider-Man. Man, that would be sick.
That would be fantastic. The other thing, and this will be interesting, we probably won't be able to see a lot of like the process of her getting vacuumed because I think it was like the day after El Camino came out, that actor who I forget his name, but he's like an old Western actor. He passed away the same week that El Camino came out, which he was in.
So getting vacuumed, isn't that what they do in Ghostbusters? Is that what they do to the ghosts?
That's what I was imagining. That's all I could think about. I was very confused. I was like, where's this thing going?
Well, anyways, y'all, we have the kind of funny review scale, right? 1 out of 5. 1 is terrible, 2 is bad, 3 is okay, 4 is great, 5 is amazing. I think we're on the same page of like, pretty much anything Breaking Bad, Better Call Saul is a 5 out of 5 just because of how masterful, these guys are. 5.5, maybe a 6 out of 5 at this point. This season I think is incredible.
Agreed.
I can't wait to see, how they wrap up the entire series in a month and a half, and we're a few months away from kind of possibly being done with the entire Breaking Bad universe as a whole. Like, I don't know where they go really after this, if they move on or if they take a couple of years and we get a Huel story, show, whatever.
Badger and Huel.
Badger and Huel. I love it.
I'll tell you what, I want the poor fast food kid that works at Pollos. Like that kid almost deals with as much stress and like anxiety as any other character. Like when he just when Free keeps walking in and he's like, And he's like, "Does this look clean to you?" And he's like, "Sorry." Like, poor kid, man.
The chicken assistant manager coming to AMC Plus in 2024. Y'all, let us know in the comments how you have felt about Season 6 Part 1. What are your theories for Season 6 Part 2? How do you think it's going to wrap up? Leave all of those thoughts in the comments below. You can also tweet at us all of your thoughts and stuff like that. Again, as a reminder, later this week, we will be back with Screencast to review the first 2 episodes of Obi-Wan Kenobi, a Disney Plus original show, bringing back Ewan McGregor into the Star Wars universe. Before we go, Jake, where can people find you?
You can find me during the day on Game Ranks, and at night, youtube.com/Jake Baldino. That's where I'm at. Probably going to make a Top Gun video. I'm seeing that tonight. I'm ready.
Ooh, very exciting. You can also check out Top Gun in Review. That just, the first episode came out today. It's the crew talking all about the original Top Gun in, I think, in dress up as well. I think they might have dressed for the part of reviewing Top Gun. And then later this week, we will have a Top Gun Maverick in review as well. There you go, Andy Cortez. Ladies, gentlemen, everybody joined with us today. Thank you so much to join us talking about Better Call Saul Season 6 Part 1. I'm excited to talk about Part 2 with y'all soon. But until then, it's been our pleasure to serve you.